Good day, students. You're welcome to our class today. The topic we're discussing this day is respiratory system. This was the same topic we discussed last week during our Zoom class. But for the sake of those who missed the class, and also for the sake of those who have questions to ask, we're going to repeat this same topic. So the topic, like I said, is respiratory system. And here are the objectives of the lesson. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to differentiate between breathing and respiration, name the parts of the respiratory system and state their functions, describe the two types of breathing movements, explain the types of respiration, state the effect of smoking on the respiratory system. The respiratory system. Before we look at the parts of the respiratory system and their functions, I would like to remind us that respiration is one very important characteristic of all living things. All living things, whether plants or animals or microorganisms, they carry out respiration as one of the life processes. All living things, including human beings, need energy to carry out various activities. The source of the energy is food. The food taken into the stomach is digested and absorbed into the bloodstream. The absorbed food is then converted to glucose, while oxygen inhaled during breathing is used to burn the glucose to form carbon dioxide and water that releases energy. When energy is released, then the process of respiration has occurred. Now, let us look at the difference between breathing and respiration. I'm sure if you're asked to define respiration, you're going to tell me that it has to do with the breathing in of oxygen and breathing out of carbon dioxide. Well, that's not very correct. Breathing and respiration, although they are related, but they mean different things. The terms breathing and respiration are often confused, but they do have different meanings. Breathing describes just the movement of air in and out of the lungs. In other words, breathing refers to the exchange of gases between the organism and the environment. Yes. Respiration, on the other hand, refers to the process by which food substances are broken down or oxidized in the body to release carbon dioxide, water, and energy. The parts of the respiratory system. There are several parts that make up the human respiratory system. They include the nostrils, the nasal cavity, the oral cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the trachea, the bronchus, the lungs, the alveoli, the diaphragm. From the diagram, you can see the various parts as well as their functions. So why not pause for some minutes to have a second look at the part of the respiratory system and their functions. Last time I got a question from one of the students that was sent to me through the portal asking me to explain the meaning of O2 and CO2. So O2 stands for oxygen molecule, while CO2 stands for carbon dioxide gas. Let's now look at the breathing movements. The process of breathing is divided into two distinct phases. The first phase is known as inspiration or inhalation, while the second phase is known as expiration or exhalation. Let's now look at what happens during both phases of breathing. During inspiration, the diaphragm contracts and pulls downwards, while the muscles between the ribs contract and pull upward. This increases the size of the thoracic or chest cavity and decreases the pressure inside. As a result, air rushes in and fills the lungs. So air rushes in from the external environment and fills the lungs. During expiration, the diaphragm relaxes and the volume of the thoracic cavity decreases, while the pressure within it increases. As a result, the lungs contract and air is forced out of the body through the nose. Usually, during inspiration, air is drawn from the external environment into the lungs, and the oxygen in the air is absorbed, while during expiration, air from the lungs is forced out of the body, and the air comprises mostly of carbon dioxide gas. Types of respiration. There are two major types of respiration. The first one is aerobic respiration, while the second type of respiration is anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration occurs when energy is in the process of aerobic respiration. Energy is released when sugar molecules take part in a chemical reaction with oxygen. So it occurs in the presence of oxygen. In this reaction, carbon dioxide and water are produced. And this reaction can be written as a word equation where you have glucose reacting with oxygen. That's why you have the positive sign. Then you have the arrow showing you the reaction, the products of the reaction. You have carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So that's aerobic respiration. Like I said, it occurs in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration. The word anaerobic means without air. Sometimes there's not enough oxygen around for animals and plants to respire, but they still need energy to survive. Instead, they carry out respiration in the absence of oxygen to produce the energy they require. And this type of respiration is called anaerobic respiration. It is common in plants and also occurs in man during strenuous exercise. Let's assume that you're running, and after some time you notice that you don't get to take in enough oxygen, but respiration still has to take place in your body because you need energy to be able to finish the race. In that instance, anaerobic respiration will take place, where glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and alcohol, and then energy is given off in the process. And to make up for the deficiency of oxygen, after some time, the athlete or the person running experiences muscle strain or muscle pull, which makes the person to collapse. And when that happens, the person then have to breathe fast to take in more oxygen from the environment to break down the alcohol that has been formed in the muscles. The alcohol is the major cause of the muscle cramp or the muscle strain during strenuous or vigorous exercise. Smoking and health. There are over 1,000 different chemicals in cigarette smoke, including the highly addictive substance called nicotine. These chemicals coils around the air passages when a smoker inhales and touch the air passage linings. In a healthy person, dust particles are trapped in mucus and moved up to the throat by the beating of microscopic hairs called cilia. In a smoker's respiratory system, the cilia stop beating because of chemical damage by the smoke. More mucus is produced, but instead of being carried out up by the cilia, it is coughed up by a jet of air as the lungs exhale strongly. This is a smoker's cough, and the amount of dirty mucus reaching the throat may be too much to swallow. In time, chronic bronchitis, which is an inflammation of the bronchi, may develop. So, in conclusion, I'd like us to go back to the objective of our lesson to make sure that the objective of the lesson has been achieved. We said that at the end of the lesson you should be able to differentiate between breathing and respiration. So during the course of the lesson we're able to establish that breathing is different from respiration. Breathing has to do with the exchange of gases between the organism and the external environment, while respiration has to do with the breakdown of food substances such as glucose, leading to the production of carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Then also we're able to look at the various parts of the respiratory system as well as their functions. So I'm sure you'll be able to do that, to mention the parts of your own respiratory system and also be able to tell their functions correctly. Then also we're able to look at the two types of breathing movements. We talked about inspiration or inhalation, when you take in air from the environment into the lungs. What you're doing is inhalation or inspiration. Then the second type of breathing movement is expiration or exhalation. When air is forced out of the lungs into the environment, that is expiration or exhalation. We looked at the processes involved in both inspiration and inhalation. Also, we're able to look at the types of respiration. We said that there are two types of respiration. One, which occurs in abundance of oxygen, the presence of abundant oxygen, and that is known as aerobic respiration. Glucose reacts with oxygen, leading to the formation of carbon dioxide, water, and energy is given off during the process. Then the second type of respiration is anaerobic respiration. Remember that I said that the word anaerobic means without air. So anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. We said it occurs mostly in plants, but also in animals during strenuous exercise. And I explained what happens when anaerobic respiration takes place during strenuous exercise. Also, we're able to look at the effect of smoking on the health, on the respiratory system. So I'm sure with this, every one of you should be able to explain what the entire respiratory system is all about and also state its importance. If you have further questions to ask based on the content of this lesson, you can reach me with your questions through the portal, and be rest assured that your questions will be promptly attended to. Bye for now. Stay safe. God bless you all.